Okay, I've been thinking about this video for a while now. And I mean, wow, I mean a couple of years. But I decided to make it now because yeah. It's basically me telling some gun owners to just shut the fuck up. And I'm not saying this nastily because I like a lot of them as people. But from a practical perspective, I can't stand to see a lot of the bitching that some of you guys are doing. Now, we're going to go over several categories. And I talked about this years ago. I said these gun laws will never be repealed, whatever. Well, some people are saying, I'll give you an example, I can't wait for the National Concealed Carry Reciprocity to be signed. Now, what that means is, if you have a concealed carry license from anywhere in the United States, you can travel with your concealed carry gun to anywhere else. You know that some licenses are transferable for like 10 or 12 states. You know some states will say anyone can come here with any CCW. You know some states say you don't even need a CCW. Just have some kind of photo ID, driver's license, library card, whatever. Okay, first of all, in order for that to be signed, you have to have the Senate vote on it, the Congress vote on it, and the President sign it, when we actually have a president. Do you think the Muslim that sits in the White House now, you think that Muslim is going to sign a fucking federal document allowing you to CCW a fucking handgun anywhere in the United States? If you do, maybe you need to be urine tested, I don't know. But the problem is, even if you do sign it, which you won't, there are some states that'll flat out try to sue the federal government to exempt themselves from it, or some cities. There are some cities or states that will not honor your CCW regardless of what the federal law says, which means Baltimore, LA, San Francisco, New York City, Chicago. They'll flat out tell you, we're not going to honor your CCW. And if you get caught here with it, we're going to arrest you anyway, and we're going to make you go through courts anyway, and we're going to tell the federal government to go fuck themselves because we have immunity. Allow me to explain. New Year's Eve 2013, a federal judge upstate said that the magazine ban was unconstitutional, 7-round magazines, and the magazine ban has to go back to 10 rounds. It doesn't go beyond 10 rounds, but it goes to 10 rounds. Cuomo himself said that federal judge making that federal ruling only applies to the town where the courthouse is. And the entire rest of the state, the magazine ban is still in effect. And if we catch you with more than 7 rounds, we're going to arrest you. Now, I don't think he actually arrested anybody, but he did have someone write the next year's penal code. And he made them write magazine capacity 7 rounds, even though a federal judge said it was 10 rounds. Cuomo violated a federal order. He wasn't disbarred. He wasn't put in jail for contempt. Okay? There are judges, local judges, who were ordered by federal judges to honor a CCW license or to do some shit. They said no, and they're still walking free. If a judge told you to do something and you didn't do it, you would be in jail. These politicians, they tell the judge to go fuck themselves, and they don't get a parking ticket for it. New York City won't allow me to bring a single shot 22 rifle locked up in a trunk. They'll arrest me. Okay? New York, so you are not gonna. And believe me, that these cities will sue the federal government, and they'll tie the lawsuit up for decades. You're not. Maybe you might have a CCW from New Mexico, and Houston, Texas might say you can bring it here, or you might have a CCW from Montana, and they might honor it in Tampa, Florida. But you're not gonna have these ultra fucking fanatical liberal cities allow you to CCW. Especially if you're walking into a state that has a 10-round mag limit and you got a fucking XD-M9 with a 19-round magazine and a backup magazine and a round chamber. Okay? So, stop that. Another thing I'm seeing is guys like, man, I wish they would repeal the NFA. The NFA was written in 1934, a year before my father was born. He'll be 81 in July. Okay? That means that if you want a suppressor, short barrel rifle, shotgun, short barrel shotgun, or machine gun, you have to register with the federal government, which is now the ATF. I don't know who did it in 1934. And you have to pay a $200 tax. Now, in 1934, during the Great Depression, with most people out of work, even if you were working, okay, unless your name was Hershey or Kennedy or Rockefeller, you weren't whipping out $200. Because $200 back in 1934, that would be the equivalent of about $4,000 today. Okay, in an era when a lot of guys were out of work. In order for you to get a rifle barrel shorter than 16 inches or a shotgun barrel shorter than 14 inches, you have to go get paperwork electronically or traditionally. You have to take fingerprints, and Barry and Eric are experts on this. They can tell you all about it on their page. But the punchline is you have to fill out a whole bunch of paperwork, have a judge, sheriff, or commissioner in your hometown sign it, have an ATF agent sign it, pay $200, and then either buy the item from the store, from the FFL, as a 14-inch rifle or 15-inch shotgun, or cut it down yourself. Now, a sound suppressor or silencer is a giant device that allows the gas to expand, and it quiets. It doesn't silence the bullet, it quiets it. Okay, well, that also, $200 stamp, same paperwork, same exact item. Now, from a practical perspective, I don't think I would notice the difference between a 14-inch rifle and a 16-inch rifle, maneuvering it in close quarters. I don't think I would notice the difference. And if the rifle goes too far down, an 8-inch rifle, 9-inch rifle, you're not going to be able to control it. I shot the SIG MPX, rear sight hit me in the nose. I literally couldn't put a single bullet on the paper. Not on the target, on the paper. So all you're doing is this, like a fucking moron. And I told the FFL there, I said, you know what would be good? A 16-inch barrel MPX with a full-size stock. And it came out the next year. They must have heard me. So, from a practical aspect, a short barrel rifle is a fad. Okay? You're not a SWAT officer infiltrating a crawl space at 2 a.m., okay? For the most part, it's a fad. I mean, yes, it is cool, but if it's a couple inches shorter than 16, you're probably not going to notice the difference that much. If it's way too short, you're just going to be like a fucking moron, unless you're an expert SWAT guy or something like that. Short barrel shotguns, the tube runs parallel with the barrel. And the tubes today are 8, 9, 10 shells. Okay? You cut down the barrel, you cut down the tube. You're reducing your own ammunition capacity. On top of that, the blast is going to be a lot harder to control. If you're a shotgun expert that can shoot 10 gauge, triple up buck like shit, then you're fine. If you're not the world-renowned shotgun expert, then once again, you're going to have a hard time controlling that blast. If you're cutting the shotgun down to 8, 9 inches, okay, you're going to have a really fucking hard time controlling it. Especially under, intense pressure when you're shaking. So it's pretty much a fad. And yes, it's a pain in the ass that you got to pay $200 to exercise your fad. But it's a fad, okay? Now, the NFA, I said it before, that's not going anywhere, okay? Hoping for the that's like saying I'm waiting for, that supermodel to fall in love with me and come to my house and marry me, okay? Pipe dream to nth degree, it ain't gonna happen. Now, machine guns. Now, machine guns were under the same jurisdiction, $200 tax stamp, blah, blah, blah. But in 1986, when they enacted a very pro-gun federal package, a senator from New Jersey, yes, them, took an amendment he wrote himself, he called the Hughes Amendment, And at the very last minute, you see Barry from Iraq veteran talking about this in older videos. They'll attach to a highway bill. They have like a 5,000-page highway bill, and they'll put a Gun Control Act on the 793rd page. This guy wrote a proposal saying, from May 19th, 1986 until forever, every machine gun is going to be law enforcement only. If you want to buy a machine gun, you got to buy a machine gun that's made pre-ban. And that was put into the bottom of the pile at the very last second, and most guys didn't know it was there until it was already ratified. Oops. That's the way it is. Now, obviously, you got to live in a state that allows these items, SBR, SBS, suppressor, machine gun, but you got to comply with the federal law. Now, because of that Hughes Amendment, machine guns are going through the roof. And a lot of guys are saying that the rich people are fucking with the machine guns, because Barry and Eric went to a machine gun shoot. Guy had a Tommy gun on M16 that was SBR with a suppressor, and a Sterngewehr 44 imported from fucking Germany. I don't know how he got that into the country. And he had about $500,000 worth of machine guns in his trunk. And there are millionaires that are buying machine guns, 20,000 here, 100,000 here, okay? And if you have a guy who has a fully automatic Tommy gun, it's worth 50 grand. If the Hughes Act is repealed tomorrow and auto ordinance can make a Tommy gun full auto for 2 grand, why are you gonna pay 50, 60 grand for a used Tommy gun when you could buy a brand new one for 2,000? Doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, well, and a lot of guys, the rich, first of all, the rich gun owners that like their machine guns are the least of your problems if you want the Hughes Amendment repealed. The gun control zealotry in this country, Barry said there was only one machine gun legally owned used to commit a crime in the past 5 decades. He didn't specify what the crime was or when or where like that, and only God hears him now, so I can't ask him. But the gun control advocates are going to say, whether it's true or not, they're going to say it, that because of the Hughes Amendment, machine guns are not used to commit crime, therefore the Hughes Amendment saved lives. Doesn't matter if it's true, it matters that's their perception of it. And you have gun control advocates that the short goal is for you not to have a pistol grip on your rifle. The long goal is for you not to have a gun, period. Okay? And if you think they're going to be quiet when you try to repeal the Hughes Amendment, they're going to hype that shit up to the nth fucking degree times infinity. Okay? They are going to really, I mean, look at the propaganda machines. Like, look at Bloomberg. Bloomberg had a commercial on television where you have 2 Muslim terrorists or actors playing Muslim terrorists who are saying in Arabic, and it's being translated into English, that you can go to a gun show and pay $200 for a machine gun without a background check through a loophole. Obviously that's not true, but he said it because he wanted guys to be afraid and guys to run out and vote. Because idiots vote when they're afraid. Imagine the fear-mongering they will put on if you try to repeal the Hughes Amendment. It's not going to happen. Okay? It's not going to happen. Believe me, you would have to have every single fucking congressman, every single fucking senator, and the President of the United States to be the Ron Paul mentality on gun control in order for that to go through. It will not happen, my friends. It will not happen. Period. It's not going to happen. Okay? So, my first part of this gripe I'm making is to my fellow gun owners to just shut the fuck up about something that ain't going to happen. But my second part is, why are you complaining with that many rights? I said, you got 30-round magazines in the house. You got your rifle with a pistol grip, collapsible buttstock, bayonet lug, flash hider, potato launcher, glow-in-the-dark gas spray, and you're fucking complaining because you gotta pay $200 to make your barrel shorter so it can be a fad so you can play with. You're complaining about that. I wish I didn't have to pay $200 to move my rifle barrel down 2 inches or my shotgun barrel down 2 inches because I think it looks cool. My life sucks. Let me go fucking jump out a window. 1 out of 3 Americans has to go to federal court to ask permission to put 11 rounds in a magazine. And that's still going on. 1 out of 3 Americans lives in an area where if they have 2 features the government doesn't like, they go to jail. Or if they have 1 feature the government doesn't like, they go to jail. And you're complaining because you have to pay $200 to cut your barrel a little shorter so you can play with it because you think it looks cool. Another thing I'm noticing, okay, with all the fucking shit going on in this country today, if your biggest problem is that you gotta pay $200 to cut your barrel down shorter or $200 to quiet your volume when you fire your gun, if that's your biggest problem, man, I wish that was you. Because in case you forgot, you pay attention like the news, you watch the news, 4 Supreme Court justices believe you should have a gun. 4 Supreme Court justices don't believe you should have a gun. There's 1 empty spot out of that 8 people. It's going to be filled to bring it back to 9. There's 1 empty spot. The deciding person is either going to be Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. Okay? Donald Trump has given you 11 names that believe you should have a right to own a gun. Hillary Clinton hasn't given you any names, but you know that whatever names she's going to find is going to be anti-gun. You are 1 Supreme Court justice away from having all your guns taken away, period. Let me emphasize that. If Hillary Clinton gets to put the 9th judge on, and they guesstimate that either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump are going to have between 1 and 5 slots to fill, between death and retirement, that panel is going to be whittled down, and Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump are going to be filling between 1 and 5 spots over the next 48 years. What's going to happen is if Hillary Clinton gets the spot, even if she just gets the 1 that's already available, all these anti-gun politicians that already have legislation that's being decided by the courts, they're going to rush their legislation to the Supreme Court as fast as possible so that they can get their laws declared constitutional. And when the Supreme Court declares a law constitutional, the only way it can be declared unconstitutional is if either both houses of Congress and the president override them in a federal bill, or if years later, I'm talking 100 years later, the next Supreme Court reviews it and overturns it. That's it. Those are the only 2 chances you have of having a Supreme Court ruling overturned. That's it. Look how long it took to, the Supreme Court upheld slavery. Look how long that took to overturn. The Supreme Court upheld racism. Look how long that took to overturn. 50, 60 years in some cases. The Supreme Court said blacks are subhuman. That wasn't overturned until the 1960s. Okay? And what's going to happen is, if Hillary Clinton gets her way entirely, she'll put a federal law in effect. Because don't forget, you'll have the 5 judges on the Supreme Court that will say, they'll just write down, you don't have a right to own a gun. The Constitution does not tell you you have a right to own a gun. There are Supreme Court justices that wrote in the minority dissenting opinion already. And one of them is Stephen Breyer, who retired. No, he's still there. He's still there. Okay, one of them is Stephen Breyer. They wrote in the dissenting opinion, you have no right to own a gun. Even though the McDonald v. it was Heller versus D.C. Even after the Heller versus D.C. case was written, Breyer said something to the effect of, you don't have a right to own a gun. He said it about the Chicago v. McDonald case. So you'll get 5 Supreme Court justices that will write down in an opinion, it'll be the majority opinion, you don't have a right to own a gun. And all gun control laws will be upheld as constitutional. Okay, now, after that happens, any gun control law in any state will be legal. And if Hillary Clinton really gets her way, she'll have a federal law put in effect. Okay? So you're sitting home, bitching and fucking moaning that I gotta pay 200 fucking bucks. Hold on a minute. Sorry about that. I gotta go to my stash. 20, 40, 60, 80, 90, 5. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 110, 120. I have $125 here. Okay? I'm $75 short of you being happy that you have a fucking shorter barrel on your rifle or your shotgun, and you have a fucking thing that keeps the noise level down. Okay, I'm $75 short of having that, plus I got 10 bucks in my wallet, plus I got a shitload of money in the bank. Okay? Yeah. Okay. I have, around this house in stashed areas, I have more than $200, and there are stashes in this house. I have more than $200. I have 100. I'm 75 bucks short here, plus 10 in my wallet, plus there's more floating around somewhere. Okay? And for the chunk change in my fucking house, you're bitching and moaning. And while you're bitching and fucking moaning about you having to pay, what I have in my house is chunk change. Okay? You're this close to losing your fucking rights. Okay? You know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like the Jews in Europe in the 1930s complaining that they had to walk instead of take the bus because they weren't allowed on the bus. And they thought that was their biggest problem. That's right. There were Jews in Europe that... Alexa, stop please. There were Jews in Europe that could not take the bus because they weren't allowed. And that was their biggest problem. Alexa, stop. That was their biggest problem. And we know what was in store for them. Well, this is what I'm telling you. Your biggest problem is the chunk change in my house. That's fine. This close you are. This close to not having a fucking musket. Thank you.